What's happening, everybody? Jack Jones here. Welcome to another Motivation Monday. Before we get started with the video, I just want to make a quick announcement that there is a 30-day live fat burning boot camp going on right now. So that started this Monday and it goes Monday, Wednesday, Friday, all this month, 9 a.m. Central Time, where I lead you through a live workout. It takes about half an hour and the focus is on building a base of strength and then burning fat. So that's going on right now. You can go check out the first episode on my channel. And now let's just hop right into the video. So what I want to talk about today is how do you harness all of your energy? So I'm sure you've had peak experiences in your life where you felt like every single thing was just going right, like everything. You were so energized, you were so alive and awake and full of hope and confidence, and there was like no doubt in your mind that what you were doing was right. And there was no doubt in your mind that you could accomplish what it was that you were trying to do. Right, so if you've had one of these experiences before, you know that within you somewhere there's this power, there's this really, really strong ability to just get shit done, and you could be really, really powerful, right? But the issue is, how do you harness this energy for everything you do? Because this kind of seems like we just luck into it, and every once in a while we have all this energy and we have all this focus and drive and confidence and we just, knock one out of the park. But most of the time we kind of struggle along. It kind of feels like we're getting pulled in multiple directions at once, right? So I had this thought come to my mind because I have been doing floating every day. So I've been going into a sensory deprivation tank and floating for 90 minutes every day. This has been day 5 and I'm going to do this challenge for 30 whole days, make a documentary out of it. But part of that, I've been doing research on flotation tanks of floating in general, and I've been reading about the Triune Brain, right? So we don't have just one brain or one mind. We have this. We have 3 in our heads, in our brain stems. We have our reptilian brain, we have our mammalian brain, which is built on top of the reptilian brain, and then we have our most developed brain, our neocortex, which is the latest development. And so we kind of have these 3 layers that they don't really communicate too well with each other, and they all have their own wishes and hopes and desires. So I think that's where this kind of pulling in different directions comes from. It comes from our triune brain. So as I was sitting in the float tank yesterday, I was thinking, just kind of thinking through and parceling it out. I was like, okay, my reptile brain wants security and it likes things to be stable and it hates change. And so like, that's the part of me that wants to just go get a job, any job, and just have that stability and security, right? Because part of me feels good when I think about the idea of going out and getting a job, because that makes life feel a lot more stable, right? And then there's another part of me that just wants to play video games and sleep in and eat, sugary, fatty foods and do all that. And that's my mammalian brain, that part of the brain that seeks comfort, right? Because there's another part of me, when I think about doing all those things, they're like, yeah, that is great. But then there's this whole other aspect of myself that it's trying to achieve actualization, trying to achieve success, trying to be fulfilled. And so that's kind of your higher level neocortex going on. And so then there can be conflict between your 3 levels of the brain, right? So if my reptilian brain wants me to go get a job and my mammalian brain wants me to just stay in bed and sleep all day and eat fatty foods, there's already a conflict, right? And then when you layer on top of these other higher order concepts like fulfillment and happiness and whatnot, it gets really complicated. So I thought about that a lot when I was floating yesterday. And the conclusion that I came to is that you need to be able to communicate within all levels of your brain in order to bring harness all of your power so that you are focused like a laser directed towards the goal, and you're not spaced out in these different directions. Like, you're not thinking half your energy is going towards, I want to get a job, the other half says, no, let's stay in bed today, and then the other third says, no guys, I think we'd be a lot happier if we didn't get a job and we were a hippie out in Oregon somewhere, right? So I read a really good analogy is that where the neocortex is a charioteer, chariot driver, and the mammalian brain, the reptilian brain are 2 wild horses. And if you can get these horses all working together in tandem towards the goal, you can have unprecedented power and speed and really get where you want to go. But if you don't have control over these horses, they can wreck your chariot, they can pull you in circles, and you'll end up going nowhere. And I think really thinking back on my life, that makes a lot of sense, because there have been a lot of times where I've tried things where it just feels like I'm taking one step forward, one step back, one step forward, one step back, and things just really don't work out in the end. And I think a lot of it comes down to this conflict between our different brains and between what they truly want. All right, so how do we bring these brains together into a focused goal? I think the key there is visualization. So I used to think that visualization might be something to it, but it's probably a bunch of bunk. And right, you have the movies like The Secret, and you have all these new agers that say if you visualize it, then if you visualize a nice car, you're gonna get that nice car just magically. I think that is total crap, but there's been enough people that have written about the power of visualization that I now see. I think the real power of visualization is the fact that your mammalian brain and your reptilian brain do not communicate with words. They communicate in images and emotions. So that's how you communicate to your lower order brains and get them on the same page. So if you can visualize with vivid imagery, with vivid emotions, then that sends a signal down to your other brains like, okay guys, here's what we're doing. Here's how we're gonna fulfill all of our needs by doing this goal, by going after this goal. And then that's when you harness your power. And that's when you bring all of your being to alignment, so that you can then focus like a laser on whatever goal, whatever you're trying to do. And so that you don't feel like you're pulled in different directions, right? That's when you get your chariots, when you get your horses aligned, so your chariot can go straight down the raceway and go win the race. So yeah, that's the idea. You need to start visualizing what you want out of your life, and part of that is to really sit down and figure out, what do you want out of your life? I mean, I think that's a question that people don't ask themselves enough. Like, what do I truly want? Not what do my parents want from me, not what do my friends want, not what does society want, but what do I, me living in this body, what do I want? What does my soul want? So you need to ask yourself that question and sit down and just take time and then figure it out. And then from there, build a vision of what you want your life to be, and then sit down and visualize it. Visualize it with intensity, with intense color. Visualize it with intense emotion. Feel how happy and how excited you are going to be once you become that person that you can visualize in your mind. And that is how to harness the entire energy of your being. So that's it from me. Highly recommend you go try float tanks yourself. There are float centers all across the world now, so probably you can find one within driving distance or wherever you are. And so I've only done 5 days, but it has been tremendously beneficial so far. Like, I would say my fatigue has decreased by at least 50%, right? So I have 50% less fatigue. My workout recoveries are much better. I'm just much more energized, much more excited. Like, this video today is probably the best Motivation Monday video that I've shot so far, and I pretty much gave it like 2 minutes of thought, right? So I usually write these out, I usually plan these out, but this one just kind of came to me in my float, and this is probably the most coherent idea that I've been able to give, and I didn't have to do like 20 different takes, and I feel like my energy is really high, and the idea is really good. So it all came from floating. So highly recommend you go check out floating, and I'm going to continue reporting on my experiences. I've got 25 days left. Hopefully get some pretty cool like out of body or other trippy experiences in there. But yeah, here is Motivation Monday. Hope this motivates you, and thanks for watching, guys. Have an awesome day.